In the heart of an ancient city where narrow cobblestone streets wound through a labyrinth of alleyways, I embarked on a quest that had consumed the thoughts of so many before me. The pursuit of the mysterious Philosopher's Stone, the legendary stone said to transmute base metals into gold and grant immortality, had brought me to this mysterious place. My journey had led me through ancient libraries and alchemical workshops and the chambers of wise sages. Each step had been fraught with riddles and trials, as if the very universe conspired to test my resolve. Now, on this moonless night, guided by a cryptic manuscript I had uncovered in the chambers of the wise sage, I ventured deep into a forgotten underground chamber. And the air, it was so thick with the scent of incense and the murmur of forgotten incantations. In the dim light, I beheld it. There it was, the Philosopher's Stone, an iridescent gem encased in a golden crucible. And as I approached, my heart was pounding with anticipation. The stone seemed to emanate a soft and otherworldly glow. My eyes just continued blinking, my mind whirling to catch this moment, to be sure it was real, to be sure I wasn't dreaming. Was I really standing there before the Philosopher's Stone? And as my body grounded into the moment, sure enough, there it was. It was an artifact of unimaginable power, a symbol of the alchemical quest, alchemical mastery, and this quest for eternal life. With trembling hands, I reached out to grasp the stone, but as my fingers brushed its surface, I had an extraordinary revelation wash over me. It was as if the sages of days past all began to whisper truth into me. It was not the physical transformation of base metals into gold that held the true secret. It was the transformation of the soul. Visions of ancient philosophers and alchemists danced before my eyes, whispering these timeless truths, revealing a secret of the universe, like a song in my heart unlocking a knowing within me. The Philosopher's Stone was not an external treasure to be possessed, but an inner crucible through which the seeker is refined. It symbolized the alchemical process of self-transformation and spiritual evolution. I realized that the pursuit of the stone had been a metaphorical journey, a quest for the deepest mysteries of myself. The trials and the challenges I had faced were not meant to lead to physical riches, but to discovery of inner gold, the illumination of the soul. With newfound understanding, I left the chamber, leaving behind the alluring but ultimately empty promise of material wealth. The treasure lay in the alchemical transformation of consciousness, the union of opposites, and the pursuit of enlightenment. And as I emerged into the starlit night, the city's ancient spires and winding streets took on a new significance. The quest for the Philosopher's Stone had revealed to me the eternal truth, that the greatest alchemical work was the transformation of myself, the transmutation of the soul, and the pursuit of my inner gold. an alchemy that held the key to immortality, not in the physical world, but in the realm of spirit and wisdom. Let's journey into the beyond and have a go at the Philosopher's Stone. Deep within history, there exists a legend that has really captivated the imaginations of the knowledge seekers and the wisdom wanderers, the alchemists and philosophers for centuries. This stone or substance, more than just a physical object, embodies the pursuit of immortality and the secrets of transformation. So join me as we journey into the beyond, into the heart of this mysterious Philosopher's Stone. Now, while it doesn't have a specific physical form, the Philosopher's Stone is often symbolized as a brilliant red or golden stone. Now, just imagine that. Holding in the palm of your hand a brilliant, sparkling, golden red toned stone and feeling its power palpitate in your hand. And then imagine realizing that the power is within you, within the journey that you will take, within your transformation. In alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone represents this, the ultimate goal of the alchemical process, which is the transformation of the base self, let's say, into a spiritually enlightened and refined being. It embodies the idea of spiritual enlightenment, immortality, the no ending of you and I, and inner wisdom, of course. This is power, personal power within each one of you, within you and I. And we can go on this journey of self-discovery or discovery of the Philosopher's Stone at any point in our life. Now, just because many will look at it as a metaphor for transformation, that doesn't mean that many hasn't been in search for the actual physical stone, right? I mean, come on, immortality, need I say more? That in itself is pretty exciting. I mean, think about that. The Philosopher's Stone is also known as the immortal elixir, and it too is often symbolized by this brilliant red or golden stone, and it's believed to hold the power to transmute base metals into noble ones and to grant immortality to those who possess it. Yeah. The notion of a life-extending elixir, I can see how it's tantalized countless minds throughout our history. I mean, it's said that the stone is so transformative that it's also called the elixir of life. It's really no wonder why it has piqued the curiosity of alchemists and so many for centuries. Within the splendor soulless or splendor of the sun, which is this alchemical manuscript, we can actually see a man emerging from a swamp and transforming from black to white to red, kind of representing the transition from like the breaking down to the purification to perfection. Now, remember the alchemical process that we spoke of in our last journey? Oh boy, if you missed that one, you got to go back and watch it. But just to give a little backstory to alchemy and the concepts of the Philosopher's Stone, there are stages in alchemy that we had talked about. The black, the white, the red stages. The putrefaction to purification, transformation. The breaking down and then purifying and releasing and the transformation, you see. Can you see how we actually do that in this quest of self-discovery? Yeah, go check out that episode. And we can see that in this alchemical manuscript that I mentioned. you can see even the metaphor of that transition. It's really cool. Now, the origins of the Philosopher's Stone, it's shrouded in the midst of antiquity. I mean, we can find mention in texts dating back to ancient Egypt, where the god Thoth was said to possess knowledge of this sacred artifact. And yes, I said Thoth. I know so many pronounce it differently, like Thoth or Thoth or Thuth. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems to roll off my tongue better when I say Thoth, and it just feels good to me. So that's what I'm talking about. If you say it Thoth or Thoth, that's totally fine. Thoth, yes. And then we have Hermes Trismegistus, who is a legendary figure in Hermeticism. And he is also closely associated with the stone's teachings. Now, it did pose a question to me, like, are they one and the same? I know many people believe that they are. So at some point we're going to have to journey into that. So stay tuned on that note. And then we also see the Philosopher's Stone mentioned in the Ripley Scrolls. This scroll includes a verse that reveals the right and perfectest means to make the Philosopher's Stone. I mean, how fascinating is that? These scrolls are actually named after a English alchemist, George Ripley. Now, this scroll, I've looked at it, and it is full of mystical symbolism. It is said that those that have actually dedicated their lives to alchemy will have any hope of deciphering its symbolism and figuring out the recipe for the Philosopher's Stone. Now, in this scroll, I noticed there are like different stages depicted on it. And stage 1 shows Hermes Trismegistus holding this like alchemical flask over a furnace. And within the flask, there are 8 circles showing the process to make a white stone. And these 8 circles are tied to the center where Hermes is giving a book to George Ripley. An alchemy book, perhaps, full of wisdom? I don't know. And then next in the scroll, you can see the creation of the white stone in this, like, we'll say chemical bath. And this is so fascinating. You'll have to go check it out. I mean, to see what the pictures mean, what you think that these pictures mean. Can you see any metaphors in it, Is it a recipe for the elixir of life, the Philosopher's Stone? The chemical bath is said to be a mixing of mercury and sulfur because of the masculine and feminine energy of Adam and Eve. Yeah, I mean, think about that one. Elias Ashmole and an anonymous author of Gloria Mundi in 1620 claim that its history of the Philosopher's Stone goes back to Adam, who acquired the knowledge of the stone directly from God. This knowledge was said to be passed down through biblical patriarchs, giving them their longevity. The legend of the stone was also compared to the biblical history of the Temple of Solomon and the rejected cornerstone described in Psalms 118. I mean, yeah, because the Bible itself, I really do believe that there's so many metaphors within that as well. So, if you think about these things, I can see how Elias Ashmole came about his theory and the history of the Philosopher's Stone going back to Adam. And also think about this too. If you've ever heard or read some of the passages in the Bible, these characters lived way longer than the people of this time. So, yeah, maybe, huh? Now, the earliest known written mention of the Philosopher's Stone is in, I'm going to butcher this, I'm going to spell it for you, Cheirokmeta. Okay, Chirocometa. And this was around 300 AD. But alchemists actually say that the history goes further back than 300 AD with those first mentions of it, right? I mean, way back. The stone has also been traced to Greek philosophy, like with Plato, and Plato was around like 428 BCE. I think that was around the time he was born. I may need to look that up and make sure, but yeah, so I mean, this was way before that time, right? Um, and I'm pretty sure it goes even further back than that. So Plato's creation stories involve the four elements, and they were derived from a common source or prima materia, first matter. So that's a huge thought in itself to kind of ponder over. I mean, think about that. The first matter, that four elements, that common source, you know? In the 17th century, Thomas Vaughan writes, the first matter of the stone is the very same with the first matter of all things, the first material or first matter that makes an element. Four elements and the first matter or common source of those elements. Yeah, that's definitely one to think on. Now, alchemical literature also often mentions the three essentials required to create the Philosopher's Stone, which are mercury, sulfur, and salt. Now, these substances, I believe, were not merely physical, but had this profound spiritual connotation. Mercury representing the spirit, sulfur the soul, and salt the body. Now, I mentioned in previous episode that I had seen some videos floating around of modern day alchemists making the Philosopher's Stone. And do you know what the main ingredient is that they used? Pee. Yes, urine. Now, it's not a new idea, though. When I first seen those videos, I was like, wow, like they're really, really in search of this Philosopher's Stone. I mean, they want to make it, you know? Pee. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't a new idea. So Hennig Brand, a German alchemist, began his quest for the Philosopher's Stone in 1669 and actually wound up, little did he know, discovering phosphorus. Hennig would let urine putrefy for days in his cellar. I just like caught a whiff of like what that would smell like. And he would boil it to get all of the water out, right? Leaving this sticky yellow syrup. And then heating it again, it formed this reddish oil that he would scrape off. And the results would leave this thick black syrup with a salty white layer below it. So he would discard the salt and mix the black syrup with the red oil he had scraped off, and then he would heat it again. Now, during this process, he observed white fumes that would burst into flames and that would glow. So he passed the substance through cold water and noticed white substance coming about. In the dark, the white solid would glow a green light. He described the phenomenon as cold fire and named the substance phosphorus, which meant the bearer of light. I mean, that really makes you think, like, what else has been discovered in the pursuit of the Philosopher's Stone? Now, a huge discovery, I think, would be the metaphorical senses of the Philosopher's Stone and the use of it with the inner transformation of self. What sets the pursuit of the Philosopher's Stone apart from mere alchemy for like material gain is I would say the emphasis on self-transformation, on that inner transformation, that inner self-discovery, that inner journey. Many alchemists would see that the transmutation of base metals into gold was a reflection of the transformation of the self, a journey of spiritual enlightenment. And again, in our previous episode, we were talking about the stages of alchemy. And excuse me, when I think back on the Ripley scrolls and this picture showing the sun with 3 balls in the middle of it, one ball was black, the other one was white, and the other red. Man, I can totally see the symbolism in that being the 3 stages. And also the symbolism behind those stages being within the sun. Because to me, I mean, if you think about astrology, the sun being like the essence of who you are, you know, and then these stages, the black, the white, the red ball are inside the sun. So these stages, the breaking down or facing our darkness, you know, having the courage to call ourselves out and say, okay, something needs to be healed and worked with within the shadow. Then the purification, the white, seeing the light, the releasing, the letting go, and then the transformation, the wisdom holding, the enlightenment. So yeah, metaphors are all up in alchemy and the Philosopher's Stone and yeah, those Ripley scrolls. So go check them out. Despite efforts of the philosophers in pursuit of the Philosopher's Stone for centuries, it kind of remains a mystery to many. And well, there are others that have a knowing that it's a metaphor for that beautiful alchemical quest. Also, many alchemists claim to have discovered it, but unfortunately, their secrets are often veiled in allegorical languages and symbolism. The true nature of the stone remains hidden in terms of the physical stone. However, in the spiritual sense of the stone, we can absolutely go on a quest of personal growth, self-discovery, a pursuit of wisdom and enlightenment. The stone, I feel, represents the potential for transformation within you and me. I like to think of the Philosopher's Stone as your light that can be found within you and the light that you will be sharing with the world. And speaking of which, a memory's popping up in my mind. So yeah, I'm going to have to share this one with you. I had to do a little momentary check-in with myself. Like, do I share this? Yeah. Let's go back. I was in the midst of a BQH session, which is a Beyond Quantum Healing session. It's kind of like a past life, parallel life, future life, regression, progression, sideways regression. It's a form of hypnosis that will bring you answers to some of your deepest questions, right? And I am a practitioner, by the way, and if you are curious about having one of these hypnosis sessions done, go to our website. Go check it out on knewlightstreaminglove. Not .com, but .love. We streaming that love, baby. knewlightstreaminglove, and go to Journey Into It at the menu bar up top and check out my section on BQH. Anyways, yeah. So I was in the middle of this hypnosis session, and this was back when we were all practicing on each other. And so the setting, I was standing in what looked like Egypt, I would have said, with pyramids in the backdrop. And, you know, I could see the people and I could see what we were wearing. I could see myself, you know, all of that good stuff, all the details. And I remember telling the person that was facilitating the session the name of the place, but it wasn't Egypt. Now, I can't quite remember what I said it was, but it wasn't Egypt. And that brought in a whole number of questions like, you know, was it like Egypt, just in a different dimension type of thing? Yeah, I don't know. But I found that pretty fascinating too. Now, in this scene, that I was in the hypnosis, I was holding a shining red stone, and I was protecting this stone. Like, I knew its power and I knew its importance, and I was doing everything I could to protect it. And I still think about that session to this day, because at the end, near the end of a session, you'll have your higher self called in to kind of clear up anything that you've seen, and the practitioner can ask the higher self questions, and get thorough answers from the higher self. And my higher self said that the stone was the light that I will work with and shine to the world. Now, as I sit here, as we journey into the beyond on the Philosopher's Stone, I'm like, what if? What if even my higher self was giving me a metaphor for, I don't know, like the transformations I would go through, and use that to shine my light into the world? What if what I held was a metaphor of the Philosopher's Stone and the alchemical quest of transformation? What if it was like a physical Philosopher's Stone, right? But yes, the light to share with the world, my story, your story, my challenges, your challenges, our undoing and our rising and our wisdom, our growth, our embodiment of love, our gift, our personal Philosopher's Stone. So perhaps the true Philosopher's Stone isn't a tangible object, but a journey, one that invites us to explore the depths of our own consciousness, to transmute our inner lead into gold, and to seek the external wisdom that lies within us. I say, give yourself permission to go on quest. Go on quest that captivates your heart and mind, and dare to explore the mysteries of existence, the mysteries of self. And remember, some of the greatest secrets are often found within ourselves. So, on that note, let's end this journey, but I cannot wait until our next one, so stay tuned. Until next time, keep journeying into the beyond.